Viewer discretion is advised. Your fave will be criticized.
That's Jan.
That's Chris.
And we are CCTV, the nonstop pop show.
Today we're discussing a promising new girl group, FLO.
Get the ultimate pop music fix with Shan and I right here on CCTV. We are experienced performers and industry insiders, bringing you in-depth reviews, discussions, and interviews with artists, producers, and creatives from across the music industry. You can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/cctvpops and become a part of our amazing crew, which includes Lisette, Lily, Emily, Kevin, Deshawn, and Juliet. So subscribe now and let's explore the world of pop music together.
Woohoo! Yes. So in our Little Mix Pop 101 episode, where we went through their whole career and discography, we were worried that the West didn't have a new girl group to take the crown after Little Mix took a hiatus. But luckily, FLO was right there and waiting in the wings.
Yes, pun
Thankfully
intended.
So. Yeah, for sure. I'm crying. It's nice. It's nice to give these wings to these girls because, honey, we have a lot to say about them.
Yes. I think from the start, when we heard Cardboard Box, we were already like, wait, there's potential. So yes, it's been very exciting year, almost a year now. We're reporting this at the start of 2023. And we do think this is the year of FLO.
If they, by the end of this year, don't have an album out, I'm going to lose my mind. I think a lot of fans are going to lose their collective
an
mind.
album and multiple awards, I'm sure. They've already won a bunch, so.
As they should. I mean, I feel like their industry, their seniors in the industry really like them. Like Ray likes them. Pink Panther has brought them on to do like a session with them, with her, excuse me. So I think a lot of people are really taking note of who they are and respecting what they're doing because they're showing respect to the older gen. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of a like symbiotic kind of relationship where they need to respect the older ones, but the older ones can see it. They respect them. So they respect the girls because they actually have talent. It's really interesting to kind of see how it's happening. With Gen Z, it's going to naturally like the fresh kind of girl group, but like being millennial aged peoples, it's nice to like hear stuff because our contemporary R&B artists don't do this, which is great.
Yes. So we're going to go into some of just the background, what FLO has done so far in their year of career. And then we're just going to talk a bit about their musical style and what stands out for us and why they're different from other girl groups that are also coming out right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's hop right into it.
Yes.
In March of 2022, FLO released her debut single, Cardboard Box, and there was an immediate buzz. We actually had a comment on one of our episodes around the time to check them out, which is crazy. So shout out to that fan who just like left that comment. And we also had a lot of industry friends shouting them out. But the group had been preparing for years before that, and they were actually formed in 2019, right before Vidco. We love that, right? So we had members Georgia, Stella, and Renee who were recruited by their manager, Rob Harrison, through blind auditions. But the girls actually knew of each other before that.
Yes, so Renee and Stella had attended the coveted Sylvia Young Theatre School together in the UK, which has alumni including Amy Winehouse, Natalie, Nicole, and Melanie from All Saints, Emma from the Spice Girls, and Leona Lewis, just to name a few. So that's already a great start. There's talent coming out of that school. And they actually knew of Georgia from social media already, as she had actually won a reality show in the UK, and she was kind of creating her own buzz on social media as well. So that's kind of awesome. They kind of all came together in this blind audition and at least kind of knew of each other, if not even went to school together. So that already kind of gave them a slight head start, right? with forming some chemistry.
Yes, it helps. It helps because we've seen some groups made on shows that don't exactly have the same kind of chemistry.
Yes. So this was back in 2019. So obviously they didn't release for 3 years. So their team clearly gave them ample time to develop their chemistry, work on their sound. They've spoken about multiple writing camps where they've taken over full studios and had tons of writers and renowned producers come in and just kind of figure their songs out. And they've actually said in interviews that they have more than 20, even 40 songs that have come out of some of these sessions. So hopefully we'll get to hear a lot of those. And with a record deal signed with Island Records, which is part of Universal, Cardboard Box, which was produced by MNEK, was an instant hit and quickly spread through viral social media and exciting pop and R&B fans around the world.
So since then, as of recording this video at the start of 2023, as we mentioned, it's been a great year. The group has released an EP called The Lead, which is interesting. A few more singles and have festival slots and even a headline American tour to embark on, and which we're also going to. Woo!
Yes, we are.
So let's discuss, is FLO the next huge girl group?
All right, so let's first talk about the music itself, because they definitely have a very clear style. Like, they only have 7 songs so far that we've heard. Maybe 8 if you include they're featured on that Stormzy song, right? So if you count that's 8.
Yeah.
But there's a very clear sound across those already. That's pretty amazing. I think even if you look at Little Mix or the Saturdays and stuff, like, yes, there was an established sound, but it did take them, a couple singles at least to kind of get it together.
Really,
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. So props to their team. But yes, so they describe themselves actually as an R&B group. They do not call themselves a pop group, but these songs clearly have a pop influence. So R&B pop is what I would say.
Yeah.
There is a clear late 90s, early 2000s influence, and they have drawn on many, many comparisons to SWV, Black, En Vogue, Destiny's Child, and of course, those are all Black women girl groups, like FLO are. But honestly, they've had comparisons to Little Mix and Sugar Babes and kind of everyone across the board. So, I mean, those are great names to even be associated with. So
I was about to say, honey. Yeah, you're in a class of very impressive women. The whole idea about what they do is they knew what they wanted. Like, I watched certain interviews with them, like they knew they wanted to sound like that, and I appreciate it. So it's really nice. And I mean, like you said, it definitely shows. And talking about like their tracks, you have any faves? Because like I said, there's only 7 songs, only 7 songs. But out of those 7 songs, like, how do you pick which one stood out to you, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Cardboard Box first off. So I had read in an interview that apparently the label actually wasn't sure if it should be the first single, which is very interesting.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But out of the songs we've heard so far, it's definitely one of the more instant ones. For sure. I think just the name Cardboard Box is quite unique. So I think that already kind of piques some interest. But I'm curious what the label maybe would have wanted instead. Maybe it's a song we haven't heard yet, too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Ew.
Yeah. But I think it's just such smart writing. First off, props to MNEK. It's really interesting because the Sugar Babes Lost Tapes album just came out, right?
Yeah.
But he had actually done that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So then, and of course, it did just come out. But it's kind of interesting hearing his progression because it was kind of actually the Sugar Babes first before he did Little Mix.
Yeah.
Right? And then now on to FLO. And he didn't just do Cardboard Box. He did multiple songs that we've heard so far.
Right.
So just as a producer, he's grown so much. It's kind of amazing.
It is. It is.
So skilled. But yeah, from the very start, I got a confession. It's like, what's the confession? It's such smart writing. And the chorus is just insanely catchy. But yeah, what do you think of the song? Because I think we talked about it when we first heard it.
I saw the recommendation in the comments and I looked it up and then you said something about it. And I can honestly say I heard it and I was like, okay, like I didn't pay attention to the song. I'm going to act like, oh my God, I liked it in the beginning. I didn't hate it either. But it wasn't something that I actually paid enough attention to. I can honestly say that. And I think it's because I looked at how young they were and I'm like, I really don't feel like hearing another track by some young girls. No offense, but like a lot of music from younger artists are geared a certain way. They're not typically sounding like a nostalgic 2000s. And I don't know why I just didn't sit through and I kind of sifted through the video and I was like, oh, Sugar Babes, Overload. Like I said, I can admit that I just was not paying attention as much as I should. But then I came back around and I was like, hang on, first of all, they're really freaking pretty and they actually sound really good. Hang on. And then I heard them on Apple Music. That's what brought me back around. They did a Get Out JoJo cover. So this song isn't bad. Like I can see why the label probably was like, it's not bad. It's not bad. But they probably were like, oh, let's see what happens. Because at first I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, the Apple Music sessions with the JoJo cover, that's what brought me back. And I was like, wait, no, the song's actually good.
Yeah, for me, I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool. I could get it. I wasn't listening to it all the time. It was when the acoustic version came out. That Vivo performance, I believe.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, whoa. Because, we talk about harmonies. Harmonies are probably my absolute favorite thing in the world when it comes to singing.
Yeah.
And they had a really great arrangement, and their blend is really, really good. I think their voices, they have very similar tones, actually.
Yeah.
Kind of just different enough that you can tell them apart. Like, I think Stella does have a thinner voice compared to the other two.
Yeah.
But it's not, this isn't a Sugar Babes where all three are very distinctive.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this, or Destiny's Child, like, it's very much like their three of them are kind of similar and can kind of sit on top of each other very comfortably.
Yeah.
But that's what really drew me to it. And then I think maybe a month or two after that is when it started going viral on TikTok.
Yeah, because of the mashup with the not spin back. Yeah, there was like a mashup. Yeah, I remember seeing that. I'm like, oh, interesting. I wonder who grabbed a hold of that and was like, let's make this a trend. It's always so interesting to see what goes viral on TikTok. Honestly,
Right.
that is one of those things where I'm like, how do y'all choose songs? But I mean, this is a song that deserves it. I mean, they're a group that deserves it because there are no girl groups aside from certain girl groups that are like kind of defunct or on hiatus that we can actually readily identify right now. You know what I'm saying? Like there are none really. So I think they kind of popped out at the right time and their songs are popping.
Yes. But yeah, what's one of your favorites right now?
I would say Immature. When I first heard it, I thought, oh wow, it reminds me of like Aaliyah's material off the Red album, the self-titled album. Fans know it as the Red album. Like the drum patterns, that bass whomping through. Like it's Timbo inspired, surely, but like you also hear Static Major, and if you know his stuff, God, he was so good. He was like so ahead of his time, very futuristic, very dark sounding. That gave Aaliyah her edge, and you can hear that in this song. Lyrically speaking, it kind of bothers me in the sense where it's like the guy's being immature because he's not trying to smash, but I think they're just trying to say like, hey, like everything about this relationship is you're non-communicative. The chorus is where it kind of just falls by the wayside in terms of like bringing the whole thing together. Like if people heard bills, they're like, they're gold diggers, but there's a whole verse that leads up into that makes sense. So that's kind of what it did. I like that song, and I also like Not My Job because it feels like more than a woman, and he wasn't man enough. And if I'm not mistaken, the guitar sounds really similar to the latter, and Not My Job. Like I hear Dark Child and I hear Static Major again, so I hear both of those. I hear both Static and Dark Child. And the song has like a fun rock flair because of that guitar riff. And I like the attitude that's in it because these girls look like they don't take no mess. And they sound like they don't take no mess. And I love seeing young girls doing that instead of like, oh, you broke my heart. Like after a while, it's like, girl, stand up for yourself. And they do that.
Yeah, it sounds authentic. Like they're not trying to push the attitude too much in the way they're singing, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hear Dark Child all over everything. I mean, obviously he's a huge influence in R&B anyway, but I would love Dark Child's Rodney to come out and really produce for them because it'd be very interesting to hear what he would do with them to differentiate his work from like Destiny's Child and kind of those groups from that time.
Yeah.
Because clearly that is their influence, but like what would he do to kind of elevate that 20 years on,
Oh, yeah.
I do have to shout out Losing You as well. That's like the ballad. The love song ballad. Every good girl group needs a good ballad as well.
Yeah.
And there's been a lack of ballads. Even with Cardboard Box, like the version that went viral is that like sped up one.
Sped up versions are now a commonplace on albums.
I am so over the sped up versions that get released because of TikTok. Anyway, I love a good ballad, and Losing You is great. It's a beautiful melody. You get a lot of, all three of them use their head voice in it. So yeah.
It's giving emotions a little bit.
Yeah. But honestly, they haven't really missed yet. Out of the 7 songs, I mean, we're just only talking about 7 songs here, but honestly, they are all pretty good quality.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's what kind of really helps about them. Like their team was like, if we're going to do this, we got to do it right, you know? Like, and I appreciate that because it really makes them stand out in a way, but also not too much where it's just like, what y'all doing? Like, but I'm interested to see what would happen like in the future. We're not there yet, but I want to see how far they would go with the experimentation with this group because when you have vocals like that, you can do whatever the heck you want.
Yes, they have. I've seen them tease some things in the interviews. I think they've been like, yes, we're an R&B group, but we want to get into dance. You want to get into Afro beats. We want to get into kind of all these different things. And they definitely can do that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their sound expands over this time. And like the fact that they're doing a headline tour off the back of 7 songs. We're going to get all of them acoustic and then all of them with a band.
I'm in tears. You know, it's so funny. Honestly, if they can pull that off, that'd be amazing. That'd
I'd be into
hilarious.
that.
Could you imagine? Like,
I'd be living. I'd be into that. I'm happy with that.
we're coming back with another encore performance of the song Hit of the Of. It's just, the
now it's the
band
acoustic version. Now
Yeah.
it's the rock version. Now it's the remix. Oh my god.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking on what you were saying about them like expanding upon their sound, I really wonder if they're going to keep the image that they have now.
Oh yes, I know you have a lot of thoughts on their image. We watched a lot of their performances and stuff together, and you had some thoughts on their styling. So what are you thinking?
You know, when I look at them, I feel like they're definitely like meant to appeal to like Gen Z. I get it. Like Gen Z is dressing like millennials back in 2000.
Yes.
Like let's be real here. You guys are dressing like how like my older sister would dress. You know, I say you guys. But yeah, Gen Z is like dressing up like my sister would dress, which is not a bad thing. But that was like rainbow shops, too cute, going to the club and then having the photographer put your photo up on the website for you to use on MySpace later. Like that's the way they're dressed. And there's also like this writing on the wall, like DC energy coming from them, like, the leather pants, the little halter tops, like, what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like the midriff. And then there's also elements of like, apocalyptic chic, but mixed in with the silhouettes that are very much Y2K, McBling kind of style.
Mhm.
But my thing is like there's nothing wrong with the leathers and the prints and the outfits like that. But then sometimes it's hit or miss because then you'll have styling at like the mobile awards. Why was Georgia wearing a bodysuit and panda dunks, the Nike dunks? I will never. She looks so good. Like she looks amazing. They could have put like a little like corset belt on her to kind of,
Yeah.
not to snatch her in, but just to add a little bit more than just a bodysuit that you got off of Amazon. And then you have Stella, who looks like the most bugaboo out of the three. And then you had Renee, who's just wearing like a sheer top with a skirt. They always put her in skirts. She's a great body for a skirt. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do, but either you're going to do it as cohesive as possible and go for like DC on the red carpet, like Tina Knowles style in them, or you actually accessorize like their outfits. Like there's no Tina shade to great, but sometimes it's just like, why is she wearing Nike dunks?
Yeah, I think for me, it's funny because obviously you can tell they're trying to make them seem very relatable, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing they're wearing looks too expensive. It all
Yes.
looks very accessible.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think I saw a poster or just someone was talking about just the start of girl groups in general, more so the British ones. Like if you look at like Girls Aloud's first couple singles and like the Saturday or the Little Mix, their first couple singles, like they look kind of rough, you know? So it kind of just takes some time just to kind of get the budget together, get, the right stylists together. But I think I don't hate their styling right now, but it's definitely nothing notable.
I mean, their denim look for the Vivo Discover thing was cute. Like the whole denim thing, that was cute. That was cohesive. It fit everyone's bodies. But Mobo, excuse me, I'm not letting that go. That was a mistake. They looked cute, like torso up, but like everything else, I was like, what's going on with the bottoms and the. But yeah, I think there's a way to kind of teeter that line of doing like I said, you can go for bugaboo styling. Don't put them in cowboy hats. Put them in the leather pants with the prints and that stuff like that. But they look comfortable. They don't look like they can't dance in what they're wearing. But then you'll have them wear like bodysuits like they did in Immature, and it almost like doesn't like look together, even though it's all black. So they have to figure that part out, I think. But aside from that, it's not bad.
I think also right now, I think the problem is you can kind of tell that it's styled. Like it doesn't necessarily. I think you can tell that they're trying to make them look very accessible and relatable. It doesn't necessarily seem authentic though.
Oh,
like if they chose their outfits, would they be wearing these things? I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I
sometimes
can't fully
that
tell.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder that too. I said, wow, nice catch. I think so
Yeah.
too. But if you are a fan of them, please let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you made it this far, be sure to like and subscribe. We have a lot of fun talks like this all of the time.
We do. I kind of want to do the same thing with New Jeans.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. I mean, we did something like this for was it Boys World? And we're going to talk about them a little bit as well in comparison to FLO. But it's interesting to see like where the attention's going and based on like what's going on with the trends and whatnot, where people's focus really shift, right? So, I mean, speaking of New Jeans, what have you noticed like with pop trends now, and why do you think that they're kind of like fitting in so nicely?
Yeah, well, I think Little Mix leaving kind of big window open for a new girl group to come in. They were very lucky with that. Like the timing was really great with that, because I think us girl group lovers were searching. Like I think we were open. Our hearts were open to welcome a new girl group into the.
So sentimental. Yeah.
No, too honestly, because I think we said it. Like when Little Mix left, I was genuinely worried.
You and I looked at each other. Yeah, like who are we gonna listen to now?
Yeah,
like, it was like,
yeah. I mean, yes, we have the Sugar Babes who have made a comeback, but like we don't have like a young, like new. Really exciting, brand new group. So I think their timing, honestly, was just really good. But we talked about this on the show as well. The whole late 90s, early 2000s thing is just coming back all over pop culture, not just in music, across entertainment, across pop culture. So I think them going for that is also very smart. I am very interested in, obviously in the interviews and stuff, the three of them are like, yeah, we love the late 90s and early 2000s. But, they have an A&R person. They have management. They were put together. So I'm sure this was also the concept that those people were all kind of going for as well. So I think in terms of that, like the timing and everything was just really, really smart with that. And yeah, who doesn't love a great girl group? It's been a while. And like, we should talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I think between the US, especially with the US, but the US and the UK, there's not been many. And so I think even opportunity wise, I think you kind of have an advantage, right? Because if you're like casting for shows and stuff, you want to keep your lineups diverse. It's like, okay, now we can have a girl group, now they have that. So I think just the timing and everything was very smart.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, interestingly enough, I'm a little annoyed with certain, we'll get to that in a second. I'll get there in a second. But going back to what you were saying with the trends and whatnot, I mean, if I think about like just what the UK's been doing, they had Pink Panthers, Ray, Mabel, Rena, even like honestly, the Britpop girls have been like killing it. Each of the women I've named have also used retro sounds as part of their come up. Like they knew, Rena knew back in 2019, 2018, like that's what their world was talking about. How can we use old sounds and make them fresh again? I mean, Pink Panthers is the youngest person on the list that I just named just now, but even she's using old school garage sound, but then adding her own kind of like whimsy voice on top of it. And it's so interesting. But yeah, like in terms of girl groups, we haven't really had one in years. And the only one I can really identify that's an R&B girl group that a lot of like Black people might know was literally June Diary. I think you might know June's Diary as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Are they still together?
They are. They last year was their last release. It's called Maniac. But it's one of those things where it's like they have the talent. They're very sexy ladies.
Yes.
But
I watched that reality show they did too.
Yeah. So Black people and Chris know. Because everybody acts like... I'm teasing. But
anything Kelly Rowland is involved in.
I know. So I was going to say because it's Kelly Ray. But
Hell
it's true though. But it's true though. She has a good ear. She put Little Mix together. Like people don't give her credit for that. Like she's not stupid. Like she's not Beyonce, whatever. But like she knows what she heard, right? But they're the only girl group that a lot of like R&B fans knew of in the past. Like since 2016 they've been around. But honestly, K-pop essentially has taken over everything in terms of boy groups and girl groups. Like I was telling someone recently, like K-pop has become like the new boy group because it's like we were missing that. The last boy group I remember like really being into was like Mindless Behavior, and I was like dang near 18 by the time it came out. So I was like, I was like almost 18 when they came out, and even then I was like, well, who else am I going to love? Like there's no other boy group. And then you have these dancing boys, dancing girls. So K-pop has it. But in terms of like America's lack of proper acceptance and without good English tracks, I doubt they can only go so far. I'll say that, right? But, with FLO, they show promise because they've created quality music. They have the nostalgic sound that remind people of older R&B groups. So you're grabbing this past generation that complains about how much they want the old thing back. And then you have these younger kids who are trying to latch onto whatever's really hot and new, but also latch on to music because it's actually good. So you have like all of this kind of like fire behind you, and it's really interesting. They have a winning formula at this point, I think, for sure.
Yes. All right. So let's take a look at their actual like performance ability as well, because obviously that's very important for all pop acts, but especially girl groups, right?
Yeah.
I had mentioned the harmonies earlier, like all the acoustic versions and things that they've done so far have been really, really good. Obviously, some of the ones like on Vivo and stuff, they're clearly a lot of post processing that happens. I think there was even one I sent you, and I was like, are they lip syncing to a pre-recorded live vocal, or did they just process the vocal to hell afterwards? And it was the latter. It
Yeah.
was the latter. And they have had a few big performances. You mentioned the MOBO Awards, right?
Yeah, that one
And
was rough for
they
them.
were very nervous. You could tell.
Yeah.
They didn't sound bad, but they were just clearly very nervous.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting, especially in this age where a lot of these pre-produced live, quote unquote, live performances are the ones we hear. Like even that Cardboard Box performance or the one that I like that's clearly a studio recording.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not really live. So
Yeah.
yes, of course they can do the harmonies, and there are some performances that are purely live, but as they grow into performing, that's what will really kind of turn them into stars.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Will they pull a DC Destiny's Fulfilled concert and just have harmonies and lip sync? I'm sorry, I can't laugh. That's funny.
You know, the R&B girl groups love to lip sync their choruses, though.
You know what? I get it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like, come on. If you have no other part, luckily the line distribution in this group is actually pretty decent.
Yes. it
Oh my
is.
God. But if they had the whole thing where it's like, you're the star, sis, you sing.
Yeah, I'll never be over Michelle having to still lip sync over LaToya and Latavia.
Oh my God. You know what? You know what? I have no comment. I agree. Not us kikiing.
But yes, I think the performance is maybe where they're maybe lacking the most for me at the moment. I don't feel a very natural stage presence just yet from the three of them. I think the chemistry is there. Like when they kind of give each other little looks and stuff, I think at least it looks like their relationship is good. And I think that's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah.
But I think because we were so used to K-pop where like they are trained to hell to like be able to perform to a camera,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and maybe FLO maybe don't have that as much. And so I think I think like the moves and stuff, they have little choreo and stuff throughout it. And it always, you can kind of see the brain going. You can kind of see them thinking like, okay, now I have to step here. Now we're about to do this like little body roll. Like you can hear or feel them kind of thinking that. So it's not the most natural performance ability at the moment. But I think touring will help. Like they haven't toured much. Like they haven't really performed in front of big live audiences.
Yeah, it's been a lot of studio stuff. And then they do the Pink Pantheress Boiler Room thing. But that was like that was the size of a TV box. They opened up a cardboard TV box and was just like, I'm a butcher. I'm like, okay. Okay. Better watch out. But yeah, I heard in an interview like what makes them different, and what they said was we know what we want to do and we love each other. And I was like, you know what? That shows from like what you were saying with them glancing at each other. Like you can see them when they're singing that they're looking at it, they can feel each other. You know? Even when there was like slight mistakes with the MOBA, you could hear that they were taking the breaths at the same time. Like, yeah, there's nerves, so you kind of stop breathing. But the thought was, we have X amount of counts. We were practiced this amount. I'm going to take a breath. I'm coming right back in. There was never like there was not too many like overlapped, awkward, like, girl, you singing your part too loud. You get off my, you know what I'm saying? So they know what they're supposed to do. It's not that they can't do it, but again, nerves play a part. I will say that in that whole performance, I think Stella was the most stable. She is like the calm and collected one for sure. And you can hear it. She's very stable in that sense. Georgia and Renee, they were nervous. Yeah, for sure. But when you have to sing as low as Renee does sometimes, and you have to breathe, it's a little bit tough. So after the MOBA, I think they actually did Jimmy Kimmel.
Way better.
And it's like they can do it. It's just they were nervous. Like I don't know what other stakes were involved, but something was different. Like it just felt so much better. I don't know if it was the outfit. I don't know, but that plays a part as well. If you're sitting there wearing Nike Dunks and you feel like maybe your outfit isn't really tight enough or secure, you don't want to move too much. There's a lot of things that go into what you sound like. Like even for me, when I'm singing, if I feel like my hair's going to do some crazy stuff, I'll be thinking about it the whole time. So there's so many things that probably went into it. And also they're performing in front of people that they actually respect.
Yes, industry folk.
Yeah, but the industry loves them. That's what's another thing too. So I think that's what helps them as well. But yeah, like I said, I think they can feel each other's energy, which is something that a lot of K-pop groups don't have, right? Or even some American groups that I will not name, that don't have that.
Go ahead and name.
Hang on. I'm like a little boom, 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 tap, tap. I'm joking. But yeah, speaking of other girl groups, in comparison with other groups, like we had a Pop 101 alum, Boys World. They just released Mantrum. What would you say would be the difference between Boys World and FLO, and why people are more drawn to a FLO than a Boys World?
Yeah, I think with Boys World, they're clearly aiming for a really young audience. And I wouldn't say the same with FLO. I think FLO, they're kind of aware that they're appealing, kind of like we've been saying this whole time, to us older people that miss kind of that late 90s, early 2000s sound.
Yeah.
While being kind of like their lyrics and stuff are relatable enough, and like they're kind of cool enough that will appeal to younger people too, but they're not trying to appeal to that. Like, I think when you watch Boys World, it's like, oh, I'm watching these young teenage girls sing about their current life stage. And it's like, for me, I may enjoy some of it, but I don't relate to it like at all, you know, as opposed to FLO, where the songs are, you know, all those lyrics, like everyone can relate to those things, regardless of your age, pretty much. And actually, I would say they really do lean older, you know, with the cardboard box and stuff. No teenagers are, you know, needing to pack cardboard boxes.
Could you imagine? I got your sneaker box. Like, get out of here.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest difference I've seen, because a lot of the newer groups that we've seen, like even when like with Citizen Queen, right? They're kind of an American girl group that were around the past couple of years as well. Like, they were clearly aiming for a very young group. Just in the styling, it was always very colorful. They'd have like pigtails. You know, it was just all of it. The energy was very high school. And you don't feel that with FLO. So I think that really is the biggest difference that I've seen. And yeah, I think just the songs themselves just feel genuine. You know, we mentioned earlier, they're not singing too sassily. They're not like pushing too hard with the attitude. But when you listen to Boys World and some of these other ones, they're trying to be like girl power, basically. Right? But it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like it feels like they want to feel that way, but they're like it's just outside right now, and it's not really actually internalized feelings. So yeah, that's kind of what I feel. What do you think?
You know, I agree with you. I think that is something that was really lacking. And then even with K-pop, I was just thinking about it. Maybe we should have an episode on this. There's a lot of ageism in pop in general, right? So, I mean, you think about, like, even though I was making jokes like, oh, they dress like they're wearing rainbow and Too Cute. There's a lot of people who are older than me that would be like, oh my God, yeah, I remember Too Cute. I remember Rainbow. I remember MySpace even. And because they actually put thought into it, that really does matter. Like, I like Boys World. Don't get me wrong. I really do like Boys World. I like K-pop. But after a while, you got to start thinking, like, are your faves aging well? Is their music aging like avocado or like wine? You know, I'm not saying Boys World is avocado. I'm just saying there are some girl groups. I'm trying not to name any names, that don't have music that I'll be like, I would not want to cite that as an influence if I was a young girl. With FLO, if I heard them, I'd be like, oh my God, I need to find my best friends and we need to like sing, you be Georgia, I'll be Stella. You know, they make me feel like that. And it's very not difficult to do that, but it's impressive when you can do it and still get people our age. Like, you and me are always sitting there trying to figure out which harmony we should be singing together, because, you know, it's just fun. So we'll sing around in your house or whatever, and we'll both be sitting there. Just, that's fun, right? They feel good. One thing about them that I will say is that they are not dancers, like you said. And it's so funny because they know that. They believe what they are about, and they understand what they need to work on. Like, they made a joke about like not being really good dancers. But they said like they lack that skill, but they have confidence in their vocals. Like, you could sit those girls down and they will hold it down, very much like Sugar Babes. They did some, you know, swaying. They swayed themselves to death. But one thing you could not deny was that the harmonies were tight, right? And that's what's up. Like, they don't ever have to really dance, but when they do, you can tell that they're trying their best. They're giving it their all. You know what I'm saying? And it feels a little unrefined, like you said, but I think once those nerves decrease, they'll be sitting there hitting and stepping like, you know, DC out there. Destiny's Child, for those who, if someone asks me who's DC, I swear to God, comment, you ain't no crime. You ain't so right. But yeah, I think you're right. They just feel like universal.
They do.
Universal. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. All right. So any final thoughts on their music so far, and any predictions for their career?
Okay. Well, it's inspiring to hear them sing. Like, I love girl groups. I've always wanted to be in a girl group. Like,
Me too.
come on. Oh my God, I love that for
Boy
you.
group. I want to be in a boy group or a girl group.
Honestly,
In another life.
I'm about to say like a co-ed
Next
group.
life, please. Oh my gosh. Yes. I should have been in Liberty X.
Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, it's great to kind of hear. It makes me excited for girl group revivals. Like maybe with the way the U.S. market likes to work, they might actually either try to give these girls an awesome deal or try to make a girl group that rivals them. I would love to see it, but I'm not sure it's going to work. No offense. For whatever reason, America just can't seem to get it right, which is crazy because they are making American R&B music. But I digress. I think, like I said, June's Diary didn't have a clear sound really and a cohesive thing going, and then Kelly kind of stepped away. And although they're amazing vocalists, they don't have a great team behind them, and they're also quote unquote old. So it's just one of those things where it's like they look like what FLO is dressed as, but they're almost too old, and they're also making like kind of trap R&B, which is not the wave. I mean, R&B, I think in terms of like what's coming back around, like rap was having its peak and now like pop is, I don't think like the dance 2010s pop is ready to come back just yet. There's some UK artists here and there kind of like bringing it back out and like Ava Max, I guess. But like, we're not ready for that, you know? Like Gaga hasn't had her baby. We're not ready to bring that back yet. But R&B is coming back. It really is. And if not, I feel like it could come back with FLO. So that's my little
I definitely have not been this excited about a new act in a while. I definitely am one of those old people that are like barely listening to new music anymore. I think doing the show forces me to listen to new music.
Yeah.
But I'm never very excited about the new music Fridays and stuff like I used to be. And so I'm very, very excited about FLO because they really are, if all those girl groups came back from that time. You know, it really fits in with all that. Like I was listening to them and then like Destiny's Child just shuffled in right afterwards and it totally sequences perfectly. And you know, like we mentioned, there's only been 7 songs so far. So I'm really hoping that the quality stays up there. Cause can you imagine we go to the concert and it's like they preview all these new songs that are terrible.
You know what? That's a worry for me. I don't want them to get lost in the trying to make hip hop kind of sauce.
Yeah.
Like,
man,
so
I have faith. I have belief that, of course, there's that little bit of fear because the worst is when something's really promising and then it just kind of dies off.
I mean, MNEK's on the neck. We don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, but you know, like I mentioned, they already won a ton of awards, like in the UK. Like I think they won. It's all those like upcoming, like next and like all those types of things. So I think in the UK they're already set. Like unless the music quality really dies, like they're gonna. I'm sure there's so many more festivals and stuff I'm sure they haven't even announced yet. Like, I'm sure they might get Glasgow. Like, you know, like I feel like in the UK, they're set for a really big success. In the US, however, first off, I'm amazed how well that tour did. Because I think for me, I see them as very British. And I think I've gotten scarred from just the fact that people just don't like girl groups here in the US. And so the fact that their whole US tour is sold out. And it went on sale, 4 days ago?
Yes.
That's amazing. Like the fact that I was so stressed to get tickets and it sold out in 3 minutes or whatever. That's very promising. I'm very curious what kind of crowd is going to be there.
My God, yes.
So stay tuned because we will put up a little short or an Instagram reel or something of us there and our experience. So follow us at CCTV Pops. But yeah, I'm very, very curious how the US will take them.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like I said, the US is just, I don't know, the individualism is just rampant. Rampant. It runs rampant out here. So hopefully the fans out here will actually kind of, you know, give them a little bit of a stronger foundation for people to be like, oh, yeah, let's give it a chance. Because I get it. Girl groups are expensive, but honey, they are worth their weight in gold. And with that being said, what do y'all think about FLO? Do you think that they are, I guess, the world's biggest girl group? Do you think they are? I mean, shoot.
Well, New Jeans.
You know what? That's a whole other conversation too.
Yeah, let us know if you guys would like us to do a similar discussion about New Jeans, because they're probably FLO and New Jeans, the 2 biggest girl groups in the world. Don't hate it.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, and if there's any other new girl groups that we should be aware of, please let us know. If we missed them, put us on. It's a good one. Two good ones. But yes, join our crew on Patreon to hang out with us and suggest episode topics. And please comment below or message us at CCTV Pops on all social media. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our YouTube channel. And if you're enjoying the show from a podcast platform, please give us a follow, rating, and review. Until next time, that's Chris.
That's Jan.
And we are CCTV signing off.